Hi guys, welcome to Learn Tech from Zero. Today we will be covering more CCNA topics. You can find all these topics covered on our website learntechfromzero.com. So let's just start with the today's topic, which is today we will be covering next generation firewalls and IPS. We have already covered the first two topics, so if you have missed out, you can watch them on YouTube and TikTok for the time being, but later on we will add them on other social platforms. So let's just begin with today's topic, which is next generation firewalls and IPS. All right. So what is a firewall? So a firewall is a network security device that controls traffic between trusted inside and untrusted outside networks. Traditional firewalls pre next generation firewalls, so before next generation firewalls was invented, they used to filter, like they used to monitor and filter traffic based on source IP address from where the information is going from to where the information is going to, destination IP address, and they used to filter based on port number. So they used to check, they used to filter. Filter means they used to either block or allow the IP addresses and port numbers, like um, uh, port numbers like 21, 22, 23. You need to check those port numbers. There are many port numbers. There are very important port numbers as well. And then uh, f- they used to monitor and control protocols. So they used to check for protocols such as TCP, UDP, etc. If you don't understand any of them, we will be covering every single topic in the future, and you can also check our existing videos. If you have any questions, just leave a message. So back in the days, like before a next generation firewall was invented, they used to the old firewalls, they used to monitor based on IP addresses, port numbers, and protocols. So there was a limitation. So firewall is itself a device, so they look exactly like a switch or a router. You know what I mean? So they look the same, but it's just they have different functionality. In the server room, it will look like any other switch or routers. But what I'm trying to say is, like, they look exactly the same, but they have different functionality. They don't. So I can't show you a separate picture of a firewall because they look the same. So you need to understand what is a firewall. You need to understand what's a switch, router, IPS, IDS, which we will cover today. Okay, so now we know what's a traditional firewall, a normal firewall is. So there is a limitation because it can't inspect what's inside a packet, which means a packet means when you send an information from, let's say you are sending an information from your computer to maybe, let's say you are watching YouTube. When you stream a video, you get like millions of packets from YouTube. So all the data, they break down into small packets, and those small packets have information in it. Like it has information about IP addresses, what sort of protocol are you using, and other information, such as, let's just see, such as it has information about MAC address for switching communication, IP address for routing communication, TCP or UDP for layer 4 communication, and stuff like that. Then application level communication. So basically a packet has all the information that's necessary, but all firewalls, they couldn't inspect what was inside the packet. They only could inspect the IP addresses, port numbers, and the protocols that was used in the packet. But the next generation firewall, this is the modern firewalls that we use right now. So the next generation firewall, they can do everything the old one, the normal traditional firewall, did, but they also cover advanced features, which are, let's just check the advanced features. So deep packet inspection, so it can look inside a packet, not just the header. So back in the days, like for example, not back in the days, like the old firewalls, they used to just check the headers, but deep packet inspection, they can look inside the headers, means it has all the IP addresses, the protocols and stuff like that, the port numbers, but it could inspect the more information within that packet. So don't worry about this one now. We will explain what's inside the packet later on. So don't worry about this one now. So it just doesn't inspect IP addresses or port numbers, but it can inspect beyond, like more features. Okay, and then application awareness. Like for example, a Facebook, YouTube, Dropbox, or other applications, they can all use the same port number to reply back to you. So for example, if you used an old firewall and you blocked a port number, let's say 443 HTTPS for incoming traffic, if it was an old firewall, it would have blocked every single application which was receiving on 443 port number. But the new firewall, the next generation firewall, the modern firewalls, they can detect that what kind of software is being used. Like for example, you can block Facebook, but you can open YouTube. You couldn't have done that with the old firewall, but with the new next generation firewall, it recognizes applications. So it recognizes more than the old firewall. Okay. And then user identity awareness. So integrates with Active Directory or Live Directory. LDAP is like Live Directory. I'm sorry, I completely forgot the full term. So LDAP meaning is Live Directory Access Protocol. So this is one of these protocol where you can we normally use this protocol to manage large number of users, resources, computers and stuff like that. So for example, Active Directory is one of them. So it integrates with Active Directory. If you don't know what Active Directory is, you should check other videos. I've already made a video about Active Directory, but Active Directory is a Windows Server feature. So for example, a company might use Windows Server. Within a Windows Server, there is a tool called Active Directory where you can manage users, computers, and you can manage other resources. Like for example, if you have like 100 employees, and if someone says that they need to change their password, you go to the Active Directory and you change their password if you guys have that Windows server environment. So don't worry about it too much. So we're just trying to figure out what's next generation firewall is. So it can also identify users. So for example, it can identify who you are. Like for example, if an IP address is allocated to a specific user, this next generation firewall would know who that IP address belongs to and who the user is. So that's what next generation firewall does. So it has these advanced features that it can recognize users. Okay, that's one. That's so. Okay, let's just go with the next one. Intrusion Prevention System. So Intrusion Prevention System, IPS, it's a technology where you can have a separate IPS device, but most of the next generation firewall, they have IPS integrated. So what IPS does, it's an intrusion prevention system. So it prevents any sort of threats. Like let's say how like like further threats. Like if I want to explain more about IPS, you don't need to know too much about IPS. You just need to know how a firewall works and how it integrates with IPS. But normally what IPS does is IPS is they have a record of signatures. They have a record of all those threats in their database, so they can, if they find a data like a threat, they can go to their server or the database and they can match. So this is like an advanced security feature. So next generation firewalls, they have this within themselves. So if we talk about today's topic, which is, let's just bear with 1 second. The today's topic is next generation firewalls and IPS. This next firewalls and IPS, they go together. It's just literally one single. We're talking about one single device. Next generation firewall has IPS integrated within themselves. So you don't have to study them separately. You just need to know how they work together, and it's just a basic explanation of what IPS is. Okay, what's next? And then so I've already explained. So it has IPS enabled, can detect and block attacks, SQL injection, um, denial of service. So I'm just going to explain them later on. I have listed them here, so don't worry about it now. And then SSL and TLS inspection. So it can inspect HTTPS traffic. If I start explaining you this, it's gonna go well over an hour. Let's just not get into too much. So you just need to know that next generation firewall, it can inspect HTTPS traffic. So if you're communicating with a website, it can inspect that traffic. Even though it's a secure, it has S at the end. It's not a normal HTTP. It's a secure HTTP version. But the next generation firewall can still inspect that traffic. So when we say secure, the communication between HTTPS means the communication between you and your computer and the website is encrypted. Like all the data is like it's not in clear text. Like if someone tries to hack it, they will not be able to understand what sort of communication is going on between the computer and the browser. But as the next generation firewall has this capability that they can inspect those traffic. Don't worry about that. So and it can also it also has a feature called advanced threat protection, ACP. So ACP is just another technology where they have a database, a record of new problems, and then new threats, and then so what in simple terms, what next generation firewall can do is, if there is a new threat, if it detects a new threat, it will try to check with the ATP server to see if there is any threat, any new threat that was added into the server. So you don't need to know too much about ACP and IPS and how they function in general. You just need to know that yeah, next generation firewalls has IPS and they have ATP, advanced threat protection. So and if advanced threat protection is in the CCNA um, objectives, then we will definitely cover it later on. If it's not there, we will not go too much into details. And then we have URL filtering and content control. So URL filtering means the next generation firewall, the modern firewall can URL is just a website link, so it can filter website links, like you can block or open those website links based on how you want it. Or content filtering, you can block content, means files like a photo, a video, a document, yeah, stuff like that. So content, different sort of files. So you can control, like you can allow downloading of, let's say, photos, but you will not allow downloading of let's say videos or streaming and stuff like that. So this is what URL filtering and content control means. So typically sits at the perimeter of the network between LAN and the internet. What does it actually means is, so that's the LAN. I've already explained what LAN is. I can't be explaining every single topic in every single video. So you need to watch, you need to basically follow me. The more you follow me, I should be able to explain you every single concept. But I've already explained LAN, WAN so many times that I want to do this over and over again. So LAN is a local private area. Anything before the router is LAN. Anything after the router is WAN. So WAN is the internet and LAN is your private area. So it sits between the LAN and the WAN. It's in the middle. So anything that goes towards the internet, anything that comes back from the internet, the firewall will detect. The next generation firewall will basically control and monitor. So this is what it means. All right. Next is, can also be used in data centers for east-west traffic inspection. I think you might need to know this, because you need to know what east-west traffic is, and there is another term called I think north-south traffic. So east-west traffic means you are not the communication is happening within the local area network. Like basically you are not communicating with the internet, so all the communication is happening within the local area network, like devices to devices and etc., virtual machine to normal computers, etc. But northwest is when the communication happens within the devices and also with the internet. You just need to know the basic. This is not something that you need to know in depth for CCNA. I'm just explaining you. So if you're curious about what this means, now you know, but you don't really have to know what this is actually. So think of next generation firewall as a firewall plus IDS and IPS plus application control threat intelligence in one box. So a normal firewall has very limited security controls, but a next generation firewalls, they have a lot of security controls. You can see that it just does not it just does not control check and filters IP addresses, port numbers and protocols. It does beyond that. If you talk about OSI model, it does the application level filtering as well. It can detect applications, it can check with the advanced threat protection server to check for new problems and stuff like that. So you just need to know the next generation firewall is the modern firewall, and it has very high level and modern features. Okay, so let's just go with IPS. So IPS, Intrusion Prevention Systems. So all NGFW, so which is next generation firewall, all next generation firewall, they normally come integrated with IPS. IPS usually is integrated with the firewall, but you can also have a separate IPS device. So an IPS is a network security tool. So it's just like a system designed to detect and block malicious traffic. So malicious means threats, like which is not safe for you. Traffic means the data. So someone is sending like wrong data to you, like malicious, like something that could affect your system or the computer. So okay, IDS only detects suspicious activity, and so IDS is not mentioned in the topic, but I think you should know the difference between IPS and IDS. So IDS is usually a device. So IDS is just a separate device. It could just look like this. So IDS is intrusion detection system. So what it normally does is it only detects. So it will just listen for problem. If it ever sees any problem, any threats, it will let you know. Okay, there is this problem going on. It will give you an alert. So that's detection. So it only detects. It will only let you know. Prevention system is it will prevent it. So that's why this function is already with the next generation firewall, because next generation firewall already does a lot of filtering and monitoring. Along with IPS, it does more. And we will be so what does IPS do in general? I'll just explain you now. So let's just finish this. It detects and blocks malicious traffic in real time. So this one, IDS, it only detects, and IPS, it detects and blocks. It prevent as well. So these are the only two differences between IDS and IPS. So how IPS works? So traffic monitoring analyzes packets as they go through. So they will check all the communication that's going through, like the data packets that we have discussed. So it analyzes those packets. Signature based detection uses known attack patterns like antivirus. So signature based detection is like they have a record of all these problems, like the threats. So these are called signatures. So normally when they detect a problem, they will try to match it with their existing signature fingerprint existing signatures to check if the problem is in that database, in that record. If they can match it, right, then obviously it will prevent it for you, because it's an IPS, intrusion prevention system. So signature based detection means they have a record, a database of all the problems. When they see a problem, they will try to match it and they will try to block it if it's in the database. So anomaly based detection. Anomaly means something that's weird. Like for example, it detects unusual behavior, like sudden traffic spikes. Like for example, let's say that at midnight there should not be anyone in the office, but at let's say around midnight there is a high level of communication been happening with the internet and LAN, so it can detect that. So this is not normal. So because it's not normal, it can detect that and it can prevent it for you, and it can also let you know. Action, it can take action like drop packets, so it can just not allow the communication to happen. Reset connection, so if you have like a session going on, or if you have if you have a connection from devices to device or devices to websites or other services, it can terminate the connection or it can reset it for you. And it also alerts the admin, so it also informs the admin. So example of attacks that IPS can stop. So next generation firewall, because next generation firewall comes with IPS. So basically with these four thing, with the from the normal firewall and with the IPS, it becomes the next generation firewall. So next generation firewall is basically the firewall plus IPS features. So IPS, so these are the these are the kind of attacks that IPS can stop. So IPS, just remember, IPS is a part of next generation firewall. We are not talking about a separate um, device. Next generation firewall, which is NGFW, it has IPS integrated in it, so it can does what an IPS can do. So this is a part of next generation firewall as well. So it can example attacks, and IPS can stop DOS, so distributed. I'm sorry. Denial of service. Sorry, I completely forgot the full term. So denial of service, like denial of service means when one person or one computer tries to send, basically it sends a lot of heavy traffic to a server or a network, so that it is trying to basically slow down your network. Or distributed denial of service means when not just one, like multiple computers or multiple bots that's trying to send a lot of traffic to one single server or network, trying to slow it down, or trying to crash it. So that's that. The IPS can help you block this. Buffer overflows, it can help you stop buffer overflows. Buffer overflow means when you try to insert a lot of memory into an application, so the application stops functioning. Malware means a software, but it's a malicious software, because it's not working for you, it's not helping you, but it's helping the attacker, or it's just bad for your computer. So a malware, so malware is a bad software. So malware communication, so for example, if a bad software is trying to communicate with the hacker, or is trying to report it to someone, IPS will block that. SQL injection means if there is a database, like for example, when you search something here, that's a basically you are searching from the Google's database. So SQL injection means you can like insert certain commands, or this is a slightly higher level for you don't really to know. So if you insert such like terms and commands, which can literally crush the database, or it can give you information that more than the required information that you ask. Like for example, you for example, a database might just give you a name of, or name and age of a person, but you can use specific command if the database is weak, to retrieve more information. So that's what SQL injection means. And then cross-site scripting, XSS, it's like a bad website. It's basically like a malicious JavaScript on the website. So when you go to the website, it tries to um, basically tries to do something on your website. So it's more to do with your website. So if you go to a bad website, we don't want to go too much into details of XSS scripting. We will cover this in details with CompTIA Security Plus. So if you're interested, you can check other videos. It's not ready yet, but we will make sure that it's in our website very soon. And exploits of unpatched systems. And exploits basically it tries to attack unpatched systems, like the systems that are not updated. Like for example, after October, right? Windows 10 will become um, Windows 10 will not receive any update. So Windows 10 will become an unpatched system because it will not receive any new updates. So in 3 years time, if you see someone is using a Windows 10, that device is vulnerable because you can attack that device because it's an unpatched system. Or 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 let's say you have Windows 11, but there are updates that you haven't updated your system, so that's like another unpatched system. Okay, so it's all done now. So what's the next is, I'm trying to rush it because I don't want to make it too long, because most of my videos just end up being 20-30 minutes long, and so I'm just trying to make it, I'm just trying to cover as much as possible within a very short period of time. Okay, next is a next generation firewall versus IPS, how they work together. And next generation often includes IPS as one of its features, as I've already explained to you. So if a network only has IPS, it can't control normal traffic flow like firewall does. So IPS, in short, firewalls needs IPS, IPS needs firewall. So if you want to secure an environment, if you want to secure a workplace, you need to have both in place. So that's why you can have a next generation firewalls which has IPS enabled, or sometimes they are also called next generation IPS. Okay, so what's exam level key points to what to remember for CCNA? So firewall basics. So basic firewall, like the old firewalls, control access between networks using ACLs. Sorry, ignore that. So firewall basics. So it controls access between networks using rules. So access control list. So when you basically block an IP address, when you do all this configuration, you normally use a feature called access control list. So this is something that we will cover later on. So this is a feature for all firewalls, not just the normal basic firewalls or next generation firewalls. You use the access control features to block those, to take actions. Like you have to specify how to take action, so you use access control list. And then we have so the traditional firewalls operate at layer 3 and 4. You need to know what OSI model is. So the old firewalls, they only operate at layer 3 and layer 4. So layer 3 is IP addresses, and layer 4 is session. Layer 4 is transport. So like UDP and TCP. But next generation firewall adds layer 7, application layer, because it can recognize applications and it can understand more. So it not just 3 and 4, it covers layer 7 as well. And IPS, the main feature of the IPS is it can monitor real-time data. So the real-time communication, like right now, if you have an IPS enabled and if you try to communicate with the server, the IPS will monitor it real time, and it will check with the server, with their existing server and signature, to make sure that if they find anything unusual, they can check it with their server to check, or the database to check if it exists. So for example, if there is a new thread out there, like last week, it will have it in their IPS database. So that this is what it means when it comes to real time detection. It means if there is any latest threat, or so basically if there is any latest threat, the IPS can check it real time for you. So it checks with the server and the database. IDS versus IPS. IDS only detects IPS detect plus block. IDS is usually a separate system. IPS can be a separate system, but it is mostly integrated with the next generation firewall, the modern firewall. Uh, Real world example. Okay. I think I'm just going to stop it for now. It's getting too long. But if you really want to learn more about it, you can just go to the website and learn like read more about all this. So I also have explained everything in more simpler language if you just go down at the bottom of the page when you go to this topic. I'm just going to finish it for now. Next topic will be about access points, and it will be out within the next 1 or 2 days. Until then, thanks for your time, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.